Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Social. We've got two very special guests today. We've got Lucy from Watchbox Diaries and Nicholas from Bowman's Cargo from Fears. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
This should be quite an interesting topic, talking about some behind-the-scenes stuff from shows. And Lucy, your experience recently of going all over the place. But before we do that, should we do a wristwatch check? Lucy, do you want to kick us off with what you're wearing?
I can, and actually, I have a very relevant watch on currently because I was recently in San Francisco, Nicholas, at Topper, and I actually have the very, very cool celebration dial.
Yeah,
amazing.
And you can't see it here. You need to go ahead and Google that, because the detailing on the little celebration dials is actually Rob, who's one of the owners, his son designed it.
He did an amazing job. Yeah, John Kaplan, who is like one of the most talented 19-year-old designers, and it's called the Confetti. And yeah, you're right, Lucy. Like, you just need to see it because it's like this it's like confetti landed on the dial, you know. And it is a stunning watch.
Awesome. I mean, I say celebration. This, to me, I prefer this to the Rolex celebration. Bold statement, but I do. This just fits so nicely. Like, me and Matt, my other half, like, since I got back on Tuesday evening, I mean, I've had to prize it off him multiple times so that I can get some wrist time with it. But it sits so nicely on the wrist. So, and obviously I love the design as well. Like, he did a fab job.
Yeah,
so,
did really well.
Yeah, I'm wearing Fears today. I didn't even think this was going to be on today before I even put it on. So it was meant to be.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Nicholas, what are you wearing then?
Well, I'm glad someone's wearing a Fears, because for anyone is wondering why I'm in a purple room, I'm in a Premier Inn at Gatwick because I've got a flight tomorrow morning. So I'm actually wearing my travel watch, which is my personal pride and joy, which is my Breitling Avenger, which
I love that one.
Yeah, for a lot of people probably don't know just what a huge Breitling fanboy I am. It's probably one of my favorite watch brands ever. And last year we hit a certain milestone with Fears, and I was like, right, I'm going out, I'm going to the AD, and I'm literally going to have the AD experience. So I went to my local Breitling AD in North Yorkshire and bought the watch that I've wanted, like, for goodness knows how many years. And it's a really good travel watch because it's got a rotating bezel, so useful for timing how long you do or don't have in the departure lounge or Weatherspoons before you need to run for the departure gate. But also when you're like, I'm on a daytime flight to New York tomorrow, and I can actually, if I go to sleep, I can wake up, I can tell the time because it's got a very luminous dial, and it's great. So yeah, my Breitling will be accompanying me across the pond tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that one. I love the blue dial one.
Yeah.
Mark, what are you wearing?
So you see the premiere of a new chronograph joining the flock. This is the it's known as the Rising Sun. So it's the Speedmaster Professional that was released for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics that never happened, and so what I thought that had got away from me and I wouldn't get my hands on, but I did. So
very cool.
And my first Moonwatch, and like all Moonwatches, I thought it felt weird on my wrist, but now I've worn it for a day or two, it no longer feels weird on my wrist. So it just goes to show that the impressions you might get in a shop where you try it on, and Moonwatches have never felt right on my wrist when I've tried them on. But now I've come immune to the fact that it's really weird on the wrist. I don't know how anyone can say a Moonwatch fits them properly, because they don't. But I'm used to it now.
I have to say, Mark, I saw on the group chat when you first posted a photo, and I'm not very good at like quickly reacting to things, but I saw it and I was just like, I need to heart that, because I think I'm not, unpopular opinion. I'm not a massive Moonwatch fan. I love
I'm
it,
not.
but it's not a design that really calls to me. But that particular model, I just think is, something really special. So I look forward
Yeah.
to October, hopefully seeing it in the
Yeah,
metal.
and let me see. One of 2020 made, only sold in Japan. So this one had a journey from Japan to Europe to the US. And now my sticky little fingers are on it. It's not leaving the US for a while.
Almost as well travelled as Nicholas.
Oh, and you, Lucy, you're far too modest.
I'm not quite at the level yet, but I'm getting there, I feel.
Pete, what are you wearing?
Well, as a massive Breitling fanboy, I figured that I won't wear a Breitling, so Chopard LUC World Timer.
Oh,
beautiful watch.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, so
very nice.
Did stick with the travel theme, but yeah, not my usual, not a Breitling today.
Awesome. I will round it out. I'm not quite as on the luxury end of the scale, more on the affordable end, but I've been wearing this Casio Edifice, the first mechanical Casio that they've ever made. Yeah,
that's cool, though.
Yeah, it's got like a forged carbon dial. I think it's only like $300 or something, but NH35A. I was actually saying on the last live stream, I'll probably get some hate from the Seiko fans, but if I do, that usually means that the video gets more views. It's too good for the the case and everything. It's too good for the NH35A. I like the NH35A for a tool watch, but this case they've really outdone themselves.
I did think though, Sam, when that came, when it was first announced, I saw the images and I was like, saying it's the first mechanical and I was really impressed. Like they took their time to actually design it. Okay, maybe I haven't handled one, so you can talk better to that. But I thought like, oh, this is actually a good looking. This isn't just going off the basis of being mechanical. This is someone's actually thought about this properly. I like the fact they weren't lazy.
100%. That's what I actually said in the review, that they actually didn't just slap like a mechanical movement in there. Somebody's really thought about it. Definitely areas of improvement, like there's no lume, and this black one, there's not a lot of contrast between the hands and the dial, but yeah, they've really thought about it. Real like solid links and stuff like that, milled clasp. Yeah, they've done a really good job of it. Then the polishing's like spot on as well, brushed and polished. Awesome. Okay, well, the theme of the show was kind of about watch shows, but so thanks, Nicholas and Lucy, for joining. But Lucy, you've done the most recently, haven't you? You've done, how many have you done? Like 3 in a very short time.
4 in the last 2 months.
Oh wow.
5 maybe? Yeah, 4.
Are you now sponsored by Strepsils? Because any watch show, you just lose your voice. You need a Strepsil to keep talking after day 3.
It kind of feels that way, but with going to shows anyway, like beforehand, I'm just kind of used to it. You get a little break in between, so you just rest your voice.
So did that start with the Dallas one, or the Dallas one was more than 2 months?
Dallas was like March, April. Yeah, Dallas was a while ago. Dallas was a long time ago. Dallas was mid-March because it was just before Geneva Watch Days.
Right.
Where I went to Time 2 watches just as I moved into a house as well.
Yeah,
well, that's smart because it leaves the other half to do all the work.
Yeah.
You say that, but you leave him with a bunch of tasks, and he doesn't want to do those tasks, so end up doing other tasks. So.
Oh dear. So what are the 4 that you've done recently? Then were they all in California, or? So
no, 2 in the UK. So there's Hands-on Horology, which is the new event from Oracle Time, which was to me a really, really good event. The space was great. Like, I know one of the things like a lot of events and retailers and even like the red bars and groups like that struggle with is the lighting situation. Whereas Hands-on Horology, I think it was at the Protein. Yeah, it was at the Protein Studios in London. Great venue, excellent lighting. Like, obviously a very good group of enthusiasts attending, but the lighting was spot on. That's like one of my favorite things about it. One of my feedback pieces. It's a small thing, but you notice it when you go to places that have terrible lighting and you can't take pictures of anything. So we did hands-on horology, watch event in Birmingham, so like 2 more local like UK events, and then I've recently been to the US to do Intersect LA in Long Beach, and then Minutes and Hours in Culver City. So yeah,
Wow.
very different places, size of the UK and the US.
Yeah, Long Beach it's got the Queen Mary 2 there, hasn't it? Did you get to see it?
Honestly, barely did enough traveling, and I wanted to be a tourist. Like I wanted to do it, jet lag and like actual work and stuff. Like with Paulin, who I was there representing, we've got a big launch coming up this month. So yeah, there's like a lot of stuff to be going on in between. So
you know what, Lucy, I
extra days fun as I wanted to, but I did get around. I did see some things.
I have to say, I really resonate with what you say about like not actually being able to be a tourist. Because I remember last September I went to Canada and did events in Montreal, Toronto, and I remember someone saying to me like, "Oh, you're in Toronto, like, where have you gone for breakfast and lunch?" And I was like, "Well, across from the hotel conference center is a McDonald's." So I had been there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, everything. And they were like, "That's tragic." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm getting up in the morning. I'm connecting back with the guys in Bristol. I just need to get food. Like I don't think any event I've done in the last 9 years, I've ever got an opportunity to like see the city. I'm fine, like going out to nice bars and restaurants. It sounds very glamorous, but like you're there doing the show, and at the end of the day, you're shattered. Like, yeah, you're basically, you land, you go straight into it, so you haven't even got time to get over jet lag. So yeah, sadly, none of it is sightseeing, is it?
Yeah, you're working, which is like it's great because you have different views. But the majority of the time when you're out there, you end up seeing a lot of your hotel.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Like if you get out, it's to go to a local takeaway or a local restaurant and then you come back, because especially with the time difference as well, like you need to be there in the mornings when like the rest of the team are still at work to interact with them. And then like at the end of the day, you need to make sure that everyone's like has everything ready for the next morning, the next day. So yeah, I'd love to have done some more stuff. But I did get to a dog beach, which I was very excited about.
Oh, cool. We got a question coming in. Has there ever been a watch show of any description, or is there likely to ever be one in the Republic of Ireland? I don't know. There is.
It's in Waterford. It's I can't remember the name, but it's organized by a chap, and it's a chap who does some of the YouTube things with Pietro from the limited edition. And I've never been to it, but I've heard it's absolutely brilliant. It's in a museum, and yeah, it's something. Well, I was about to say it's something to do with time, right? Like that's the title of it. But like, yeah, it's in Waterford, and it's meant to be a really, really good show. And they get some really top brands go there.
Do you know when it's held, Nicholas?
Oh, I want to say Festival of Time. I've just seen it. Yes. Thank you to Mark on the comments. Yes, Festival of Time. I think, I want to say it's September. I know it's not in the summer. I know it's like later in the year when most events are. I've never made it over, which is a real shame because I'm friends with Brian, who runs Sidereus Watches, and they're based like down the road from there. But I've heard it's a really, really good event. So I don't know. Sadly, Mark, I don't know exactly when it is, but yeah, if people want to have a quick Google and suggest when it is, that would be great. Because yeah, it's meant to be well worth going to.
Awesome. We got another very important question that we have to ask the panel here. Is this what a Watch Geek live stream looks like?
Yes, Julia. This is what a Watch Geek live stream looks like.
Yes. Make your own mind up. So
Julian is an actual legend in like the watch community.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Well,
yes.
thank you. For
Shout
joining.
out to Julian.
Yeah, this is the first time that I think first time you've joined. So welcome. So Lucy, do you like schlep the watches around yourself in like Pelican cases or something, or do they get sent couriered to you, or how do you?
It depends on how many people go to the event. So I've been to all of the 4 events that I've been, that we've been to in the last 2 months, and yeah, it's just me and a bunch of display trays and a banner heading around the world pretty much, which I'm fine with. It's a bit of a sweaty job, obviously, hiking everything to the US with like a massive suitcase plus like 2 weeks worth of clothes. And I, as a female, pack very light, but even still, and I go to the gym, but you have this massive suitcase full of display trays and like all of the sample pieces, plus your banners, plus, any additional luggage that you happen to have. So yeah, I've had a workout the last couple of weeks for sure.
I used to travel with those pull-up banners. I used to travel with those pull-up banners. They got a life of their own.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. So yeah, just giving me a good workout.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I'm afraid to say, Lucy. Yeah, as a gay man, I do not pack light. And it's awful because sometimes you're doing the trip and then your valet is complaining about having to carry all the work banners and things as well as all the trunks, for all the outfits and costume changes. But yeah, no, it is. You have to travel with a lot, don't you? Because you've basically got to make a beautiful display.
Yeah.
But especially if you're doing like show after show, you can't like ship it out because it's got to be able to move to the next venue.
Well, but you also have the problem, Nicholas, of being the best dressed man at any show you attend.
You've really got to rock your own back.
2 suitcases just for his clothes. It's all like ties and dapper blazers and.
We are not joking. No. If you ever see Nicholas at a trade show, me and Nicholas have very different vibes with attire. Nicholas is very gentlemanly, very British. Like I wish I could be as smart and very well put together as Nicholas. No. Most of the time I'm in some form of like dungarees, bright shirt and Doc Martens, which is kind of appalling. So that's like
well, I mean, that's it, right, Lucy? Like, Thea's is obviously quite formal and traditional, and so like my team, whenever they're traveling, it's always like suits and ties or dresses or like but also we always have a thing of having Dorchester roses on our stand because we have those in our boutique in Bristol, and so that means that someone in the team has to call ahead from the UK and find a local florist at any event we do to get a bouquet of Dorchester roses sent ahead, so that like we arrive at these hotels in random cities around the world and there'll always be at reception this like, has someone got a bouquet of flowers addressed to Fear's watches? But it's about like setting the scene, right? Like we want to bring a bit of the Bristol boutique to Salt Lake City or to Dubai or wherever we are. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of trade shows, but I just do I'm in the tech uniform, polo shirt, like pants and coal hand shoes, trainer shoes. So, I mean, well, Lucy, I'll ask you what. I won't ask you what's your favorite because that would be unfair of the last shows. But were they all sort of the same, or did they have like a different vibe? And
I think each show has a different vibe. It's interesting to see how different locations respond to your your products, to your brand, to the show, to watches in general. Like it's always interesting. And I do find like even just in the UK, different locations respond differently and like communicate slightly differently. And it's exactly the same no matter where you go like in the globe. Like even the 2 LA shows that I just did, the people turning up and looking at the watches, they responded differently, and you know they communicated differently. Obviously, everyone was very pleasant, which I loved, absolutely loved about it. But yeah, they do deal with things differently, and they handle things differently, and they communicate a little bit differently. So to me, I just find that really interesting.
I know Mike Pearson for WindUp Chicago. He took some of the British team there, and he said, I had to teach them how to talk to the Midwest, because it's not like talking to London, it's not like talking to New York. I don't know what he taught them, but that's, you know, it's like we had the people will be like this talk before they went into the show.
Yeah.
Well, it's even things like how you say the prices. So I remember the first time I did a WindUp in 2022 in New York, and we did it with one of our retailers in the US, Collective Horology. And like after the first 20 minutes, they were like, sorry, we just need to say, you're saying the watch is like $3,550. You need to say like it's $3,550. Like you need to say it's 25, you know, you talk and you say them. And also that's the other thing, like, of course, UK shows, I'm sure, well, I don't want to assume, maybe you found this as well, Lucy, but in the UK, like price is one of the last things ever asked or mentioned. Whereas in the US, it's one of the first things. Like, and as a Brit, that feels so awkward and uncomfortable when someone's literally just like, how much is this? Like, how much will this run me? Like, you know.
Yeah, but the flip,
100%.
yeah, I was going to say, but the flip side of that, though, is certainly the Americans will probably be like, "Oh, I really, really like that. I really, really like this." Whereas the Brits are like, "Oh, yeah, so it's all right. Yeah, looks okay." So I mean, actually, Lucy, we have got some pictures from Michael, who's in the chat now. He sent some photos in. He's our kind of roving reporter at these shows. So I think this was, yeah. Which one? Which one was this? Which show was this at? You can tell how tall he is.
Yeah, this is Intersect.
Yeah. So
this was my first meeting of Michael, and obviously we're in a group chat together, so I communicate with him fairly often. But it's always really funny that you speak to these people for, you know, months/years, and then you've never actually met them in person. But he was very, very lovely. I'd never had, is it yucca?
Yeah.
Before. And he tried describing it to me. I was like, that sounds weird as heck. It's like, it's a cross between a potato and a parsnip. I realized this is not watch chat, but I was like, I'm intrigued. I'll give it a go. And then bless him, he actually brought me some to the show, which was so kind of him. And yeah, it was a really nice food for me to have once the show was done. But
those yucca fries yeah, really good. I think there he was with Peter from Jack Mason.
Yeah.
And then I forget this guy's name, but he's from
Neil Duckworth.
Yeah.
From Duckworth Prestex.
Neil, yeah.
And Elena from Veneziano there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. So I wasn't personally there, but we had a reporter on the scene.
I must admit, that looks so civilized after the chaos of WindUp New York.
I'm experiencing WindUp New York this year, and I've heard that is absolute chaos with like over 200 brands there. So,
and I think last year, was it over 10,000 attendees in 3 days?
It was, yeah, it was. I remember, Mark, you found me at one point where I was like kind of hiding in a back room, just being like, I need to sit down and regain like my thoughts. And you came and you're like, I'm aware you're kind of in a recovery mode. Do you mind if I sit with you? I was like, no, come on, Mark. Like, you know, I'm happy to sit and chat, but like, please don't ask me about the movement. Don't ask me about how the dial is made. I need 5 minutes of just like
no watch talk for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that Dallas one, Lucy, that was hammered, wasn't it? Because I left at 3:30. I got in there early, but at 3:30 there was a constant queue of must be at least 100 people queuing to get in at any one time.
But I think that was really like it's a mix between what's comfortable in terms of actually being in the show itself, being able to get to the stand and see the watches themselves, learn about the brand itself, and having to stand outside and queue and wait for your time to get in, because yes, it was very busy, but from an exhibitor point of view, it was a really nice flow in that you had the time, although it was busy, you had the time to explain the history behind the brand and to pull people into, you know, a little bit more detail, rather than when it was absolutely manic and you can't tell them anything because it's, how much is this? Okay, you're in, you're buying, or you're out, like, and then they're on to the next person, they're on to the next brand. Whereas obviously the people outside, as someone who's visiting, which I'm often on both sides of things, like, you kind of do want to get in and you want to see things, you don't want to have to queue. So it's a very fine balance between the two. But I do think, although people from Dallas did have to wait a little bit, and I did see the queues behind us, when they got in, I don't know whether you felt the same, Sam, but like when you got in, you could actually communicate with the brands themselves.
Yeah, you could. They laid it out really well. It was sort of like an open. It's like I think it was an old Gulf Oil offices or something. So it was like a big warehouse, and yeah, the way they organized it, and they had like the elevator in the middle. I thought they did really well, and because you could kind of move around it. There was a little bit of a pinch point, kind of where you were in Studio Underdog, but other than that, it kind of flowed really well. Mark saying, didn't they hit the building safety limit at WindUp New York last year?
They hit the building safety limit every day.
Yeah.
So for several hours for an hour or so on the Friday, most of the Saturday and part of the Sunday, they were on a clicker entry for it. And sounds like they need a larger venue. This is their 4th venue, and each one has got bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know how much bigger they can get, but the lines around the building. So yeah, New York is still the big one.
But like my follow-up question to that would be, how many is too many? Because if I'm thinking from a visitor point of view, I'm in for one day. If I'm looking at 200 watch brands, I'm not going to get around all of them at all. And sometimes you want to. So like, how many is too many that it actually then becomes too many watch brands?
Well,
that's a good question.
I have an answer to that. I mean, Fears won't be at WindUp New York this year. We're not doing it
because it's too many.
Yeah, so we're going to be a couple of blocks away at Watch Time.
Oh, you'll be at Watch Time.
Oh, well done.
We got the invitation to join Watch Time, and we basically ummed and erred because we've done. I've lost count how many wind-ups around the US we've done, and I have a close relationship with everyone at Worn and Wound, and I love what they do. But the fact is, to your point, Lucy, like an event like WindUp, it's not about the cost of the stand, which is 5 figures. It's expensive, but it's the fact that when you add on international flights, hotels in New York, and this may be a surprise to people, but it's not the cheapest city in the world to stay in unless you want to be like Ubering in every day for an hour. Suddenly you're looking at the best part of $25,000 to do 3 days. And if you find that, in our case, we're one of the more expensive brands, it's not something that someone's just going to come up going, oh, I love that, I'll buy it. Like, you want to tell the story, you want to educate people, you want people to handle it and not feel any kind of pressure or rush, and not have like a queue of 3 or 4 deep, which is great. Optically, that looks amazing, but in the reality, that's not a very pleasant environment. And we were just finding like, actually, no, like, even though I'd love for everyone to, of course, know Fears watches, like, before they've walked in, if they don't, it actually, you know, you need those minutes to explain it. And you know, for us, ask me at the end of October whether that's the right decision or not, but it feels like the right decision now. So I would say, like, yeah, it's to Mark's thing, like, yeah, a decision, you know, how many is too many? For us, it's too many. But as I say, like, we do other WindUp shows and we have great relationships with them, so it's not us turning our back on it, but yeah, there has to be a point where you make a decision.
If I recall, watch time is Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday.
Correct.
Friday evening will be surprisingly busy, given the tickets are over $100.
They're nearly $200 now.
So the Friday evening is surprisingly busy. Saturday is surprisingly busy. Sunday, you see a lot of the brand owners from WindUp who are at WindUp. They're going around to see what the high end brands are doing.
Yeah.
So last year, I bumped into the two Yorgs from Christopher Ward, Senior and Junior.
Yes.
And they were queuing to get into watch time on Sunday morning because there was, you know, only 10 people in the queue to get in at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So it's much more relaxed on a Sunday. But it's a good show.
Is it that Gotham Hall again?
Yeah,
that was
it is.
Weird. Oh, it is. Yeah. I find that a weird venue, actually, because it's like a circular building. Yeah.
Make sure you get the bit where the roof doesn't leak. Make sure you get part of it where the roof doesn't leak.
Yeah, they had sort of
great name though.
Yeah, they had like, it was like what was it? There was a really prestigious brand.
Parmigiani.
Yes, and then there was like a bin with a bin bag in it to collect the rain. It is Gotham Hall's a great name. It was actually, they use it in TV shows and films. It was in an episode of Billions.
It was the casino.
Yeah.
It was absolutely.
It's an old bank.
Yeah.
It's an old bank.
Have you been to the WindUp New York, Pete?
Me? Oh God, no.
You experienced any of the WindUps? It's very weird. I haven't said anything because exiled down here in Australia, we don't really have watch shows. I mean, that's interesting though.
I suppose there's every now and then someone throws something together. They try and do a collector group, but the truth is we're 25,000 people at, as one of our prime ministers famously said, the arse end of the world. We're just, and by the way, that was the Prime Minister of Australia talking about Australia.
Sounds like a legend.
Yeah, he was. We're just too far away, and Nicholas would be able to tell you the economics just wouldn't work for people. Aren't going to travel all over the world. I might one day get to for me, I would have to go to like either Hong Kong or Singapore probably for a show. So this is all someone else's. This is all someone else's world.
So I remember
zero watch shows
I've never been to a watch show.
Yeah, I know because Australia is a huge market for Fears, and obviously, Pete, if you remember, it was beginning of 2023 when I came to Australia for several weeks, and you and I met, and we had that lovely lunch, and that was because I was then doing an event with Time and Tide in Melbourne, and it is crazy because it's like there is an audience there. There is, as I say, it's a market that like punches way above its weight in, compared to the number of people. But I think it is that thing of like, it's so far away. And like, so in September, Fears is going to be doing 2 events literally at the exact same time. And we've started doing this, which is probably why people who may have seen me a few years ago at like every show and every event, I now do only a handful. And that's also sadly because as the company grows, I actually need to be in Bristol, sat in front of spreadsheets and strategy documents and human resources and things like that. Trust me, growing a company, I don't want anyone to be playing too many small violins for me, but like I love watch shows, but like, there are just so many of them. I've been working on training my team so that they can go instead of me. But like in September, we're exhibiting for the first time officially with Geneva Watch Days, and we're one of 60 brands. But big, it will actually be the most expensive show we've ever done. But at the exact same time, we're also doing a show with the UK government in Tokyo and Osaka. So watch brands and other British luxury goods. And originally I was meant to go out to Japan because I was like, I love Japan, amazing place. And then in the end, I had my senior team sit me down and go, we just can't have you on a time zone for a whole week, which
12-hour difference.
Exactly. And that's a real shame. So we're still going to be doing Japan, but one of my colleagues, Richard, is going to be out doing that. But if you could think of Geneva Watch Days is a very interesting show. And to put it in perspective, we're not going to have much change from like 35 to 40,000 pounds to do that show. But that show is something where we get three things. So if you take a WindUp New York, you're meeting collectors and enthusiasts. But if you're doing one of those Geneva shows, or the same with like Time to Watches, you're meeting retailers, which is a big area of growth for us, is meeting retailers from around the world, but also media, and especially non-English speaking media. Like that's really, really difficult. Like how do you meet journalists from the top watch publication in Mexico? Well, you need to be in Geneva. Bizarrely, not in Mexico. You actually need to be in Geneva for that, because they're not traveling up to the US to come to the watch shows there, and then also meeting collectors and things. But yeah, for us, we basically grade our shows in like who is the audience we're meeting, and then it determines whether our commercial department or our marketing department organize it. But then we also grade the shows from A to C. And it's not in importance, but it's just the sheer like how much organization, because Geneva Watch Days, we started prepping for that in February this year. Like, and even then, I'll be honest, we probably feel like we're a few weeks behind where we should be. It's just so much work for 4 days, but you've got to get it right.
And it is funny there, because as an Australian, Geneva Watch Days is a show I will be at. It's as you were talking, I'm actually looking at the Geneva Watch Days website. I'm seeing what's up. I'm looking forward to the stories. Something like WindUp and those smaller shows, they don't feature in the media. People don't do releases there. So unless you're at the show did, it's a bit like Strava, or it's a bit like a run. If it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. For me, it's like, if the show doesn't make it onto media so I can see it, it may as well have not occurred.
That's really interesting you say that. Yeah.
WindUp is the biggest watch show in the US.
And it's hardly covered.
And it's hardly covered.
If you didn't go to the Worn and Wound website, or if you didn't listen to their podcast, you wouldn't know it occurred.
Damn, you mean I should actually write one up one year?
Well, there you go, Mark's media side. So ask Mark, do you talk about any of these shows that are sort of very, very enthusiast, turn up driven? Do you see any of them making the media?
No, other than if I have written up both WindUp and Watch Time in the past. I didn't write them up this year though. Even though I've got, some great photographs of just the chaos of WindUp New York, just the massive humanity being really enthusiastic about watches. The New York enthusiasm will wear you out in 5 minutes, Lucy, but the enthusiasm is real. But you don't see that show written up in the other watch media, even if they're there. I mean, partly because I think it's a competitor.
Yeah. Maybe.
Why would a blog to watch write up a rival website, for example?
Whereas I suppose that's where like Geneva Watch Days, Watches and Wonders, they've kind of got that neutrality to an extent.
Yeah.
But
and in a way, Geneva Watch Days, Watches and Wonders are media and high-end influencer driven rather than WindUp, which is local, man of the people driven. And the brands are different. I mean, there's a lot of micro and small brands at WindUp, for example, that could never afford to do Geneva Watch Days.
It's interesting what you say, Pete, because we actually, next year is our 10-year anniversary of me relaunching Fears, and it's the 180th anniversary of my great-great-great-grandfather originally founding the company. So it's a big year, right? You know, and with this comes a lot of kind of not reflecting backwards, but looking forward to the next 10 years. Like, right, what do I want to do? How do we structure the company? And like my team, a real shout out to the Fears team, because they work so hard. Like, you know, it is ridiculous the amount of productivity we have in Bristol. But a big change that we're doing from next year is all of our launches, bar the odd one, are going to be centered around Watches and Wonders and Geneva Watch Days. They're going to be our 2 points in the year where multiple new watches. So this year we have 3 new watches being launched right at the end of this month. So a few days before Geneva Watch Day starts, because we realize that's when, you know, basically if you think Geneva Watch Days, beginning of September, it kind of kicks off the autumn season of watch shows. So that makes sense in terms of making sure that everyone gets to see things. And then if you do the April show, the April Genevan shows, that's again kind of kicks off April, May, June. I would say probably the only big main show that happens before April is British Watchmakers Day in March, but that's obviously pretty niche, right? You know, that's and I think Mark will attest to this when he came last year to it. Probably the show that has the most incredible natural light, because the whole roof is glass. So, you know, it's just floodlit. And then on top of that, the organizers, because they spoke to the brands and asked what do they want? And the brand said more and more light. So everyone still gets like a lamp on their table, and you've got all this natural light. Because, yeah, to Lucy's point earlier, like, you can never have too much light at events. And yet it's shocking how many events you turn up to. And they're like, oh, we've created mood lighting. We've turned the lights down. And it's like, guys,
No.
this isn't a Premier Inn suite. You know, we don't want mood lighting. We actually want it to be bright and exciting.
It's great as your background, but it's not.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have this built in, recreated in Bristol for sure.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to me, again, as someone who sort of can't get to any of these physical shows, that if you want to use shows to reach people, it's going to be basically probably the 2 big Swiss ones. And if you didn't go to those, you didn't do shows, as far as I was concerned. Sorry, Lucy, for negating all your travel. But if you ever want to come to Australia, I promise I will make it to wherever you are. Which is, like, to put the distances in perspective, I think the trip from Melbourne to Sydney is about the same trip as say London to Geneva. It would be in that order. So it's like, if you'd be willing to go from London to Geneva, I'm willing to go to Sydney. But I think Fears is in this really wonderful size, Nicholas, where you can turn up at those shows knowing that you'll get coverage and not having to worry about being overshadowed, because of course you're going to be overshadowed. You know, like, Rolex is going to do what Rolex does, and it doesn't matter to you one iota that you're on the, you know, the second or third person that gets, you know, spoken about list. Whereas I think it actually becomes more problematic for a brand like Omega, where they are a competitor of Rolex, and to be overshadowed by Rolex at a show is bad for their competition. So I can kind of see why Watches and Wonders kind of makes more sense for Fears than it does for the Swatch Group.
Yeah, and I mean, there is, you know, that's why the super big brands, Rolex, Omega, Patek, don't take part in the GPHG awards. You know, you can't risk being overshadowed. But you're right, like, you know, there's a reason why when we do our launches around the big shows, we do it a few days before, because there is actually, certainly not in August, September, but in the April shows in Geneva, if you're exhibiting at Watches and Wonders, there's an embargo. You're not allowed to announce anything new until the first day of the show.
Yeah.
So if you're a brand like us and we're able to kind of find a loophole and get around that, then yeah, of course we will, because basically the media have nothing to write about for several weeks. So you want to take advantage of that. But it's really interesting. I've just saw on one of the comments from James Blonde about the Bristol watch show.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't mind, I'll do a little bit of publicity for the Bristol watch show, you know, Fears being a Bristolian brand. So the Bristol watch show had its first show last year in November, and the second one is going to be on the 1st of November this year. And it's a regional show. So it's focused just on watch brands that are basically within like a 30-40 minute drive of Bristol. So in the west of England. And last year it was 10 brands. This year we're going to be, I think, 15, 16 brands. And basically we pick a venue. So even though it's fully branded Bristol Watch Show, Fears actually pays for the whole thing. So the brands don't pay to exhibit, which is why you will meet brands there who it's their first ever show they've ever done, right? You know, they've just started, it's one person working from home, but it gives them a platform for people to get hands-on with their watches, whether it's Kickstarter or, you know, they're making 100 watches a year. But one of the big things we picked with that is we didn't want it to be too busy, because more is better, supposedly. But actually what you want is people to come and spend a day and have those amazing conversations and really get to like meet every single brand and go hands-on with every single watch that they make. And I think sometimes that can be forgotten. Like fundamentally, the show is there for the people attending, right? You know, like it's really about making sure they have the best time. Obviously the brands are the ones usually paying, so they're the client, but actually the kind of person it's for is the attendee. And yeah, sometimes I worry that can kind of be forgotten with some shows.
Yeah, I think as well. I mean, the thing I noticed when I went to New York WindUp and a couple of watch shows as well is I think, Lucy, the way it's good that you're representing the brand is I think that sometimes, I'm not saying Pauline's like this, but some other brands, they send like the person who founded the brand or like the watchmaker. And I don't know whether they're the best people to tell the story at the stand. Like normally they're quite, you have to draw it out of them. You have to draw the story, or they're not sort of, not sales trained, but there's a certain, to keep go. I do a lot of trade shows, so to keep going, I mean, you know, you're constantly like, each new person is kind of resetting of the pitch and resetting of the go. And I think sometimes that's why I think, especially at WindUp, I think I noticed some brands were getting less kind of time, because people are coming up and looking at the watches, and they were sort of like, oh, I'll just let them have a look at the watches and see if they ask a question, rather than just, oh, hey, what are you here for? What do you like? And stuff like that. I'm
just going to say, I 100% agree. I mean, not only have I seen Lucy in action at watch shows, but the fact is, I've seen with Fears at the different shows we've done, since I've basically started taking a bit more of a kind of backseat at events, we have far better engagement. We see better sales, better people connecting afterwards. You know, it's, fundamentally, I've got to check my ego and go, I'm not the best person on the stand. You know, my colleagues are far better at doing it. And like, you know, I'm not going to speak on Pauline's founders' behalf, but like, you know, the fact that Lucy, when she's there, she like so engaging, like, but also like you have your, I don't want to call it a script, but you know what to say and how to convey it quickly in a really succinct way, which is engaging. Like, yeah, the problem is like, I'm the worst person to talk about Fears or sell our watches. Like, so.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I've seen you at shows. You're pretty good.
I think it's a hit and miss situation, because you can get brand owners who don't necessarily know the way to communicate their story in a succinct way. And yeah, it's that absolute passion project, and that passion comes through, but you kind of want to have a bit of time with them and then know that the next person is coming in. And the benefit of like me being an enthusiast and also working, you know, I get to see things from both sides of things. So I know I feel like I have a good understanding of like what a reasonable time frame of spending a minute at a stand is, that you do get to have that time with them and to learn about the brand and learn about the history. Because for me, that connection helps build recognition. It helps build, you know, the connection with the brand and, you know, the potential purchase. But then they can also go too far.
I've worked on the stands at industry shows where in my space, which is air shows, and it's kind of weird in a sense for us, because quite often you work with the product. So in my case, an aeroplane. So you know about how it works and you know how to use it and all that sort of stuff. But you know what? It's not everything to you. It's not your hobby. You know, if they didn't pay me, I wouldn't go to it. So when you get to an air show, it's often you get these disconcerting experiences of the enthusiast who lives and breathes this thing will be asking you really in-depth questions, and you just go, I have no clue what you are talking about. Do you guys experience that too in the watch space?
Yeah, I think Nicholas, you would agree too. There's some people that are, especially because Pauline is quite a design-led brand, we genuinely do get people who ask about what an automatic watch is. You know, there are people at that level that like, I like the design aspects of it. I have absolutely no idea what the mechanical side of it is. So you have to gauge that very quickly. But then there are people that come in and just throw like very intense like questions at you. And if I wasn't an enthusiast, I probably wouldn't know how to deal with them. Yeah. So yeah, like having someone who's genuinely passionate about what they're doing and like what they're talking about, especially with the company, I think is a massive asset to the company.
Yeah, and especially if that person does more and more shows, right? Like, you know, I think I've seen this with you know, I would say we probably have 4 or 5 people in the company who do most of the shows, and they're brilliant, right? You know, and you know, in particular, one of my colleagues, Harvey. So he manages our Fears Authorized Stockist network around the. Oh, Harvey is the best. Like, shout out to Harvey. He is such a lovely human being.
He's adorable.
But the fact is, like, he's in charge of the training program for our retailers. So he's used to going around the world, like sitting down with the retailers and, you know, talking about the Fear story and the product and stuff. And you see him at events and he is brilliant. And it's just great because I remember the first event he went to, and I don't think he'll hate me too much for saying this, but like, he was good, but he wasn't excellent, right? Because it's doing a watch event is actually, it can be quite intimidating from a brand perspective, because as you say, Lucy, sometimes you got people just coming up being like, how much is it? Like, you know, they want to try it on. And then other people, I remember once at WindUp San Francisco, this guy came up and he was grilling my team to the point that like I was off the stand and they called me and like, you need to come and answer these questions because like we've gone through the spec sheet, we don't know. So I come up and I'm asking them, and the guys, he wanted to know what exact alloy was used on certain wheels within the Le Jouperet movement that we have in the watch. And I remember just thinking like, really? I was like, I'm sure if I call Le Jouperet right now in Switzerland, they're going to be telling me like, we're not going to tell you. But I was thinking like, really? Like you've picked your Saturday to come and grill people. And it was so funny because that evening I went out for some beers with some of the other brands. And that's one thing about international watch shows that I absolutely love, is the camaraderie of brands going out afterwards together. And like, as you just said, Lucy, like you've met Harvey several times now at different watch shows, like, you know, the teams know each other. But I remember we went out and everyone was like, did you have the guy asking about movement? Yeah, it was like we'd all had that. And I can bet you anything he didn't buy a watch from anyone that day.
Yeah, but, I used to sell computers, and we used to do shows, and it's we used to get incredibly specific questions, and the ratio to person who asks specific questions to that person ever buying anything is like, you know, 0.
So, but I agree with what Nicholas was saying. Doing trade shows, and I used to do them part of my job professionally too. It is a skill set that you have to learn. The first trade show I did, I'd never done clearly never done one before. And as a watch nerd and natural introvert, I've got to talk to people I don't know. But I had
so well versed in all of the specifications to it, but actually speaking to people can be quite intimidating.
But I had one of my colleagues who was an old hand, so he was my mentor for 2 hours, and I just shadowed him and just went, "How do you do it?" Now his style is never going to be mine. Brash, New Jersey is really not my thing, but you can learn how to talk to people, and your product because it's your profession, blah blah blah. But it's a skill set you have to learn, and I'm full of admiration for anybody who is good at it, because it's tough. It's not an easy thing to do.
Here's a question, actually, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask everyone here. Like, we always debate this. How important are a handout or a giveaway or something for someone to take away with them, whether it's a pamphlet, whether it's a cleaning cloth, a gift, stickers, badges, whatever? Like, because I can never tell whether these things actually people like, or is it like, oh great, I've now got something to hold while I walk around and I'm given all this stuff. Do I actually want this stuff? Like, what do people think of that?
Of all the years I've done trade shows, I've got 2 giveaways, I think, left. I've got an ice scraper that I was given at a trade show, which is, sits in my car and is very, very useful. And I have a wrist measurement thing that I got from Fears last year. But when we used to do trade shows, you'd see people come around with their hand luggage, the little things, and they'd throw all the giveaways in there because you can give them out to people in the office, or they just wanted whatever giveaways. But there are, for me, I don't really care.
I put it into 3 categories, or there's 3 kind of things that go through my mind, and I'm thinking about different kinds of trade shows, but trade shows nonetheless. I don't really care. Very rarely does someone give me anything that like sparks my interest and makes me think more about the show, more about the company. But if you're not giving something away, it will kind of stick in my mind. Oh, they're the ones that didn't give anything away. Yeah. But every now and then someone will crack through with something really good. And you do remember that. So what I would say, sort of from my point of view is, or my limited experience, sample size of 1, is that there's a vaguely negative feeling about not giving it out. Not a lot of positive feelings about giving something out. But there's always a chance you nail it and you get something perfect. So it's right. Probably worth doing.
Yeah, I in the industry that I'm in like we do software for the trucking industry. The swag is like a big thing. Like we take to trade shows because we're mainly interacting with trucking companies. We take gloves and we take flashlights. And they go straight away. And it's funny, we have a customer who always, every show we go, he always comes over to get the flashlights. And I said to him at the last show, I said, how many of the drivers at your offices think that we make flashlights and not the software? Because you must have had and we're happy to, more than happy to give them away. But I think the swag has to be specific. I think it has to be specific to what you do to tell the story. So ours is gloves and flashlights because we deal with drivers or truckers' caps we have as well, and pens and stuff.
When we
there are brands that have caps and they're nothing to do with watches, but it's cool to get a cap.
I've got a Formex cap somewhere.
We have a wall in the Bristol head office with watch brand caps. I always do a cap exchange with people, and we've now got like this wall of caps. So we're moving into a new larger head office later in the year, and I want to basically just get a wall of like mannequin heads so that we can have all the caps like going up the wall. Caps are brilliant.
That's kind of freaky, Pete. Nicholas, I just go for nails because I don't think, sort of imagine what happens if you're working late at night and all those capped heads suddenly turn and look at you.
I did have the same feeling. It was a vaguely serial killer's basement feeling.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
stickers are a winner, aren't they? Like stickers are always. I've got the
I think
Pauling
so.
ones. I've got the Fears ones. Those little button badges that you do, Nicholas. I've
oh
still got
yeah. I
the
mean,
Christopher Ward with those beer mats.
I think
Yeah,
like
those were clever.
to remind you of the brand, especially when you're looking at multiple brands. Like events can range from 30 brands to 60, 70, 80, or New York is like 200 brands. Like you need to remember where you've been and what you've seen. So for me, even things like little postcards or stickers like help you remember the brand. And like if it's a really cool swag, like I still, and if it's useful, so I still have like the Fears cleaning cloths because I've basically just got one in like every pocket of every bag and every coat that I own because it's useful. Like,
well, anyone coming to Geneva, because Geneva watch days, it's like 35 centigrade. It is hot there. So we decided rather than doing cleaning cloths, the giveaway that our marketing manager Loriance came up with, which was genius. We've got branded like fans, like the traditional fan that opens up, and then it's got like a montage of all the old heritage logos. And then at New York Watch Time, I think we're going to have some of our Fears umbrellas. We've got these.
I'm definitely coming to Watch Time as well. Then.
Yeah,
Christopher Ward, when they released the 12, did you get one, Mark, where they sent the cookie through that was in the shape of the 12 and they'd ice it?
Because I'm not such a famous person as you are. But I did get a T-shirt.
Ward, I'm contractually obliged.
I'm emailing them as soon as we're done here. We're like, where's my cookie?
Where's my cookie?
It was a watch in a cookie form. It's funny because actually Citizen sent me a matcha tea set, like as a swag as well, which was pretty cool. But yeah, the cookie, because the cookies are a really good thing because people can eat them there and then. And obviously your watches, Nicholas, that make quite nice shaped.
That would.
But then if you eat it, you haven't got anything to remember the brand when you're done.
Well, I remembered the Christopher Ward
Other than the
one.
memory of the cookie and the...
Yeah, if it's a very nice cookie. It was a very nice cookie, actually. Yeah.
One of the benefits...
Some really cool packaging or a sticker with it.
Yeah.
100%.
One of the benefits to something like the fan that you were talking about, Nicholas, is I've got a couple of, like Grand Seiko are big on giving those out too. They also make great photographic backdrops. So you can open the fan up, drop a watch on top of it, and you take a photo down.
Yeah.
So make sure there's lots of Fears branding.
Grand Seiko are very good for swag.
They are very good. So
very good for swag.
One of the downsides of Australia is we don't get a lot of shows. We don't get any shows, but we do get a lot of, as Nicholas was saying, the retailers have no choice but to bring brands out. So we get a lot of brand days.
That's cool.
Yeah,
so,
awesome. That's good.
Which are always swag heavy.
Awesome. Well, that was absolutely fantastic conversation. Yeah, we're saying it was a fantastic hour. Nicholas, you're getting a lot of love in the comment section saying that you are good at shows and you're very charming. So there we go. Big thanks to the panel. Lucy, thanks for joining us. Nicholas, Mark, and Pete, thank you so much. Guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. Bye.